I was having y'all, your boy Rico from StreetScores, and yes, sir, one of my favorite picks of the entire draft, regardless of team. One of our favorite picks for me, and then one of my favorite picks out of any team's draft picks from this past draft, man. The Washington Commanders just got a huge steal in running back Jacory Croskey-Merritt, man. This guy is at worst a round 3 talent. He just has a crazy backstory that we're definitely going to dive into. I want to explain how he ended up landing all the way in the 7th round and how we ended up getting the guy that we had no business getting where we got him, man. Of course, I have a comp for him. I'm gonna tell you how he fits this team and how he instantly makes us better today. You rarely see a 7th round pick that comes in and makes a team better day 1, week 1, but he does. He has a couple of things to his game that nobody in this running back group between Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, and those other guys have yet. So he's going to play more often than a lot of y'all probably think. But before we get into everything, and I'm going to show you his all 22 clips and highlights while we're talking about him and everything. I have his relative athletic score. I have a lot of advanced stats. This is probably going to be the most advanced stats heavy breakdown of any of our draft picks because I'm really excited about this guy. Adam. All right, so with their final pick of the 2025 NFL Draft, we only had 5 picks coming in. We made no trades, no movement. All of the trades that we had dealing with picks were done before the draft even happened. Trading for Laramie Tunsil, trading for Marshawn Lattimore last year, and traded for Deebo Samuel. That's why, and we're going to talk about this at the end of the video, like when you're looking at this draft class, I feel like even outside of the just 5 picks we got, like I feel like even just those 5 alone, this is a really good draft class. You got better. You made it to the NFC Championship game, and you are better this upcoming season than you were last season in a lot of ways. But you also got to look at it as you have to include Laramie Tunsil, at least like half of them, because, you know, some of the draft picks that we used to get them, a couple of those came from this draft class. Deebo Samuel and Marshawn Lattimore. Those guys are included in this draft class because you use this draft class picks to get those guys. But most importantly, the Washington Commanders took running back Jacory Croskey-Merritt, number 245 overall in the 7th round, man. And again, like I promised, here are some all 22 highlights while we're talking about them. And if you don't love them just yet, if you don't even want to believe what I have to say throughout this entire video, just look at those highlights and tell me that this isn't a game changer at running back that we just got in the 7th round. And like I said a few weeks ago, this is a huge sleeper in the draft. I said this weeks ago that this guy has way more talent than where he'll end up getting drafted. Thank goodness he fell to us. I wanted DJ getting so bad in the 4th round. I wanted like Travion Henderson, even though I knew he wouldn't make it to the 3rd round. I wanted Caleb Johnson as well. But getting Jacory in the 7th round may honestly be the best value out of any running back pick this entire draft class. And if you don't even want to just take my word for it, even if you want to ignore these highlights and you only believe the experts that do this, they say the same thing. You'll see why. I'll explain towards the end of the video when we start to get to his comp. But man, I mean, this could honestly, like, we look back a few years from down the line, maybe like a year or two, and this could end up being the biggest draft steal of this entire draft. I'm telling you right now, I'm not saying he will definitively be the biggest steal, but he's going to be in the conversation as one of them, man. And the Commanders clearly love this guy. We were clearly very interested. You can see it even before the draft came up, and that's why I could already tell that this guy was more than likely on the way to the Commanders because we showed so much interest in this guy throughout the offseason draft process, man. Multiple meetings. He came in so many different times. They met with him at the East-West Shrine Bowl, where he was the MVP of the entire game. We're going to dive into that later as well. We met with him at the Team Pro Day. We had a Zoom meeting with him, and we brought him in for a top 30 visit. Like, there was clear interest. This guy was clearly high on their board. I'm surprised they even took a chance and waited to get him in the 7th round. I would have been perfectly fine if we took Jacory in the 6th round and then took Kane Medrano in the 7th round. Like, that honestly would have made more sense to me than what actually played out. But I also just feel like he's a huge steal. Again, I think he's a top 3 round talent. I think you can argue 1st round talent. You'll see why, especially with J.D. Daniels as quarterback, Cliff Kingsbury as an offensive coordinator, and a top 5 offensive line in front of him, and all of these weapons around him to where defenses can't focus on purely stopping him. You'll see I have some advanced stats that shows that how he's the best running back out of this entire class at a specific couple of things. And when you're the Commanders, you just made it to the NFC Championship game. You have so much talent up and down this roster. We don't need you to come in and be the most well-rounded, all-around running back that's good at every single thing. Be particularly elite at like 1 or 2 things, and we can work with that. And he's literally that. That's why the Patriots were so great for so long. They didn't try to draft a bunch of guys that were just well-rounded. They would get guys that were particularly elite at just a couple of things and only ask them to do those couple of things. And then they also had great coaches that could develop a couple of more elite traits out of them. And I feel like we have that same coaching staff. So this is like a perfect marriage between elite talent, great coaching staff that can get even more elite play out of them. I'm so excited. And elite development and ceiling. Shouts out to Ryan Fowler, because I agree. He said, man, can Jacory Croskey-Merritt play? I keep wanting to say Croskey. It's kind of like combining the Croskey and the Merritt together. Jacory Croskey, I don't know why. Hill immediately challenged for snaps, and Washington was one of the winners of the entire pre-draft process. He fits the Commanders' culture with deep family ties. He had 20 family members drive to the Hula Bowl from Montgomery to watch him compete. And then also, despite the NCAA's ruling of his transfer, he spent a year as Arizona's practice squad running back, which shows his hunger to compete, because even though he wasn't allowed to play, he still wanted to stay at a college team and at least take part in the practices, because he really had a big dream to make it into the NFL, and you did just that. It paid off. It's such a wonderful story, man. And again, he even wanted to be here. Like I talked about weeks ago, man. Look at this picture right here. When he came for the top 30 visit, he looked so excited about pulling up to the Commanders, man. I mean, not a lot of people post selfies of themselves on a top 30 visit, so you could just tell he was really excited, and you could tell that he just really wanted the Commanders to take him. I'm pretty sure with him projected to go 7th round undrafted, he would have been extremely happy with any team drafting him. I'm not about to sit here and just blindly act like the Commanders were the only team that he wanted to go to, but he seems like, just off of that picture alone, that he's potentially really happy about landing in Washington, D.C. And I'm never mad at a guy that wants to specifically be a Commander. Again, just like I said earlier, I think it was yesterday or something like that, you know, it's not necessarily a necessity, but it's definitely a bonus. This guy lives, sleeps, and breathes Commander. From work ethic, from how badly he wanted to be here, this pick makes too much sense. Now, to move on to his crazy story. Because, again, I feel like he has 1st or even 2nd round talent in him at worst. But we got him in the 7th round. And so, of course, you're like, okay, of course he does. You're just saying that. How do we get him as a 7th round pick, but this guy has at worst 3rd round talent? Well, of course, even after a monster pro day at Arizona, remember that the NCAA completely screwed him out of the last season, the 2024 season. But back in 2023 at New Mexico, he ran for 1,200 yards. I just want to remind you of that. But he had some weird situation where, like, apparently his redshirt freshman season or something like that, they counted him as playing 8 games. Technically, when it comes to red shirts, you're only allowed to play 4 games for it to count as a red shirt, for you to gain an additional year of eligibility to play at, like, later on down the line. Like, instead of that red shirt freshman season counting, it's a red shirt, it doesn't count, so now you're 4 years eligible after that season. Well, Alabama State claims that Croskey apparently played in only 4 games, but the NCAA is claiming that he played in 8. And trying to say something about, apparently, like, he wore the specific number that he wore for 4 games, and then another running back took that number and played those games for him instead, and something that, and maybe the NCAA is assuming that they're lying. It's some really weird situation where at the end of the day, the NCAA, even though they let him play for 1 week, he played for 1 week and balled out too. He ran for 106 yards and a touchdown in the season opener over his former team, New Mexico. But immediately after that, the NCAA got on him and was like, no way you're playing this season because you technically don't have any years eligible. Again, Alabama State was trying to claim, well, when he was at New Mexico, technically that was somebody else wearing his number for those 8 games. And of course, New Mexico, since he's no longer on the team, they're just backing out like, I don't know what to tell you. Or maybe even New Mexico snitched. So after he went to Alabama State and balled out for 106 yards and a touchdown against them, maybe New Mexico were the ones that hit up the NCAA like, wait a minute, why is this guy playing right now? So shouts out to New Mexico for snitching, man. Terrible. I hate him for it. But again, in that one game that he played before he got shut down for the season by the NCAA, he went crazy. And the fact that it happened against his former team that he transferred from, I mean, if you don't feel that, I mean, I can see him taking that same level of motivation and chip on his shoulder and then transferring it to the fact that he was drafted insanely late based off of what like where his talent projects that he should have landed. So this guy seems like he's going to be heavily motivated, and we've seen in his case that when he's motivated, he balls out. I project him to be motivated and ball out for us. And now moving on to some breakdowns. I mean, first of all, his feet, I mean, the footwork, the change of directions, the acceleration, deceleration. I have some advanced stats for y'all later, man. It's absolutely ridiculous. Let's dive into the stats and athleticism and his accomplishments. Starting with the accomplishment. He won offensive MVP honors at the East-West Shrine Bowl. And from everybody that I can see from sources that were there, scouts and stuff like that, it wasn't even close. He looked like a guy that had no business being there. He looked like a talent where it's just like, why is this guy at the East-West Shrine Bowl? This guy needs to be at the Senior Bowl. This guy should have been at the, this is like a 3rd round talent at worst type of thing. He looked like it. He looked like an at worst 3rd round talent around a bunch of 6th, 7th, maybe even undrafted free agent type of guys. Like, it literally looked like it. He went for 11 carries, 97 yards, and 2 touchdowns, man. It looked bad. And then shouts out to Eric Galko for pointing out the fact that Jacory had the highest max deceleration ever on offense since the Shrine Bowl partnered with Zebra Sports, with a negative 7.29 yards per second squared. His ability to stop, cut, and redirect is special, and it showed throughout the entire Shrine Bowl game. Shouts out to Zebra Sports because they tracked max acceleration and deceleration for the Shrine Bowl since 2023 and in the Senior Bowl since 2018. Among all running backs in that span of time, he had the 6th all-time max acceleration. And again, like I just said, he was 1st in all-time in max deceleration. So when it comes to changing directions, you can't get any better than Jacory Croskey-Merritt. But look at his relative athletic score. You could argue maybe a little undersized, but the explosion is elite. The speed is elite. And I just read to you those insane agility marks of the acceleration and deceleration and all of that type of stuff. So I don't know what happened when he did a shuttle on his 3-cone, but he's way more agile than that on tape. I would argue he's more agile than he is speed and explosion. So I feel like, honestly, he deserves like a 10 relative athletic score when you're actually looking at what he can do on the field. He just happened to test poorly when it mattered most. But when he's on the field, well, not even when it mattered most. When it came time to test, he didn't pull up with his A game, I guess. But when he's on that field, you see elite, insane, special, one-of-a-kind agility in a running back right there. And I also want to continue to point out that he had the 3rd highest avoided tackle rate out of this entire draft class. Yes, out of every running back, all of these talented running backs that we wanted, Jacory had the 3rd highest avoided tackle rate, including, I mean, we're talking about Ashton Genty, we're talking about Amarian Hampton, Travion Henderson, Quinton Junkins, Caleb Johnson, all of these running backs we wanted, even DJ Giddens. He was 3rd. Also, when facing stacked boxes, Jacory had the highest rushing success rate out of this entire draft class at a 59%, along with an avoided tackle rate of 42% against stacked boxes. That is insane. I don't think y'all understand. Just think about it. With Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, Zach Ertz, and now Jalen Lane, how often will the Commanders ever even go against stack boxes? But just in case, you now have the single best running back against stack boxes out of this entire draft class. When the defensive side of the ball brings more defenders than you can block, Jacory is the best running back. It's still finding a way to get positive yardage out of the situation more than any other running back in this entire draft class. That is insane stuff. So now just think about it. You got to worry about Jaden. You got to worry about our receivers. You got to worry about Zach Ertz. You got to worry about all of this offense, Deebo Samuel, And then you have this guy that if you don't stack the box, he's going to kill you. But even when you do stack the box, he's still going to kill you. But you better not stack the box against Jaden Daniels. So I honestly, getting a guy like Jacory makes it to where a defense is always wrong. Now, as far as breakdowns go, shouts out to the draft experts because they agree that we just got away with highway robbery. Again, if you don't agree with my analysis, if you don't agree with the highlights I've been showing you out this video, shouts out to the experts. Shouts out Goat House NFL on Twitter, purely draft guy. He said Jacory is legit, one of the more explosive backs in the class, and he has excellent vision. Very curious where he goes in the draft. Talent says day 2 all day. He's going on 24 and only played in 1 game this past season, so that could affect where he's selected, but he's a very skilled running back. Then you have Noah K.M. Chang on Twitter as well, another draft analyst. He said the Commanders are getting a tremendous value in the explosive, creative, and unpredictable running back in Jacory Croskey-Merritt. Croskey-Merritt displays nimble footwork, strong leg drive to finish, and breakaway speed. That's the trait that I was looking for the most in this draft class out of any other trait that a running back can have. We're going to talk about that later when we're talking about his fit on the team. And then shouts out to Lance Zierlein of NFL.com. He said, quote, eligibility issues sidelined Croskey-Merritt for all but 1 game in 2024, but his skills were on full display at the East-West Shrine Bowl game in January. He's a quick processor, so you see this common theme of multiple people feeling like he has excellent vision with adequate size. He's not very big, but he's also not as small as like the relative athletic score with him giving him red ratings and things. I don't think he's too small. I think he's just fine. And he has impressive cut quickness to find yards in crowded workspace, a common theme. The best running back in this draft class, when the box is stacked, when there's more defenders than the offensive line can block, who's the best running back in making something out of nothing? It's him. He has one cut talent and the ability to break runs sharply across the grain when necessary, and he finishes runs with purpose as well. I mean, he sounds like he can do so many things well. Where's the weakness? Honestly, for me, the only weakness that he has is pass protection right now. And then you can maybe argue his age and then the fact that he only played 1 game last season. So how ready is he? But then again, he showed how ready he was in that East-West Shrine Bowl, so I'm not worried about that at all. Then shouts out to the Athletic. Dupree Brugler said, quote, a slippery runner with explosive feet. Jacory is capable of full stride cuts without even gearing down so that he can toy with defenders. He literally toys with defenders. He runs with a cut to daylight mentality, which keeps his runs alive, but also leads to wasted steps and extra hits at times. Overall, there is an unpredictability to his run style that keeps both defenders and even his own coaches on the edge of their seats. But you'll live with the validity because of his electric plant and burst to naturally string moves together and create chunk plays. He projects as an offense's change of pace weapon, unquote. You can hear a couple of the negatives and concerns there, but you also hear overall, this is a game changer. And like I keep saying, man, with those late round picks, you draft game changers. Don't just bring in some random guy with a decent floor, maybe because he put up better stats this past season. Go for ceiling in the late rounds, and ceiling you are getting with Jacory because he has top running back in the NFL, like top 10, top 15 running back in the NFL potential for sure. And then also shouts out to Walter Football. He gave us an A grade for this selection. One of our best picks, according to him. He said the Redskins wanted a running back to challenge Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. Jacory was someone who was expected to go in the 5th round at the latest, so this is great value towards the end of the draft. And let me take some time separate from Walter Football to remind y'all and really emphasize the fact that he was only projected to go in the 5th round because of the weird 2024 season and NCAA shutting down the season and his age. Pure talent, day 2 at worst. Pure talent. And a lot of people are skipping over that. They're talking about they were projecting him to go in the 5th round, but remember, that projection includes the fact that he basically took a year off and the fact that he's up there in age. But most importantly for us, the most important part of all of this is where he instantly makes us better today already. Right now, today, immediately after we drafted him, where does he improve our running back group? Where does he improve our offense and our chances to win games and to go deeper into the playoffs, to go to the Super Bowl, to win a Super Bowl? He is a home run hitter. That was my biggest need coming into this draft for the entire team, only outside of pass rusher. Second was home run hitting running back. And yeah, maybe it took a while, but we got one. Imagine how stressed defenses will be trying to cover our receivers while watching for Jaden to potentially take off with his legs, while also having to worry about a Commanders running back that can finally take a run 60 yards to the house. Brian Robinson will still probably get more carries than most of y'all are probably comfortable with this season, especially early on. But Jacory, when he's ready, is very likely to be our feature back. I truly believe that. I think he'll be the one that ends up on the field most often between Brian Robinson and Austin Ekeler. I think B-Rob will be used in like short yardage situations, third and short, goal line and stuff like that. And I think Austin Ekeler will more so be on the field as like on third downs because he's our best pass protector. Until Jacory learns how to protect better, Austin Ekeler is more than likely your go-to guy on third and long situations. So I'm seeing it as Jacory first and 10, Jacory second down, and then based on third down, is it third and short? B-Rob. Is it third and medium or long? Austin Ekeler. Again, until Jacory learns how to pass protect very well. That's how high I am on this guy. I think he instantly comes in week 1 and gets more carries than most of y'all probably expect. And I think by the end of the season, by the time we get to the playoffs, he's easily your feature back. And if he learns how to pass protect, he's never coming off of the field. I'm telling you that right now. And shouts out to Lance Zierlein, as you can see on the screen right now. He had Jacory Croskey-Merritt as his 8th best running back in the entire class, only behind Caleb Johnson, Bashal Tootin, Quinston Junkins, Dylan Sampson, Amarian Hampton, Travion Henderson, and Ashton Genty. He feels like Jacory is better than every other running back that I did not just name, and he's close to Caleb Johnson and Bashal Tootin. I'm the only one that he has above Jacory that I question is Dylan Sampson. But I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if 2 years from now, if Jacory is the most productive running back out of this entire draft class. I think Amarian Hampton landed in a very good spot too with the Chargers. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the most productive ones as well. But do not be surprised within a year or two, Jacory at least looks like, maybe he isn't, but he looks like, just based off of production and stats and efficiency, looks like one of the best running backs in this entire draft class. Do not be, especially with the situation he's going to with, again, Jaden Daniels, top 5 quarterback, also one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the NFL. So, I mean, the secondary has to prioritize, the entire defense has to prioritize Jaden Daniels. So he's going to be an afterthought. He's coming from offensive seasons and that East-West Shrine Bowl where literally the entire focus was on stopping him. You still couldn't stop him. Imagine what it's going to be like when he's a third thought, an afterthought, the fourth or third priority from a defense. That's scary, man. I'm telling y'all right now, y'all should be even more excited than you already are. And shouts out to Chris Trapasso. His NFL comp for Jacory is Marlon Mack right now. And he said with that comp, what sets him apart is his fluid movement skills. His loose hips and natural body control allow him to subtly evade tacklers without sacrificing much speed. His first cut is especially sharp, and while he primarily operates as a one-cut slasher, he has moments of dynamic multi-cut creativity that leave defenders grasping at air. His initial burst is excellent, carrying through the second level, but his long speed is more good than great. However, he brings very minimal receiving experience from college, which could limit his immediate third down value at the next level. Like I said, not only is he not a really good pass protector, he also didn't get a lot of opportunities in the passing game, but I truly believe that he has the talent. You see the flashes, and once we start to target him in the passing game and we coach him up, I mean, what better than Anthony Lynn as your run game coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury as your offensive coordinator, to get this guy up to shape in the ways that he needs to improve. And then shouts out to the fact that Chris, who again, Compton to Marlon Mack, said as an older prospect, Croskey brings a well-rounded skill set with explosive traits, vision, and toughness, making him an intriguing option for teams looking for a hard-nosed big play threat in the backfield. That's literally what we need. And me personally, it's really hard for me to comp running backs, like, cause I mean, I don't know, just watching them all, you know what I'm saying? I see a lot of, cause I see more so shades. Like, I see his cuts look like this guy. I see his ability to run through tackles and fall forward look like this guy. But if I had to like pick one guy to comp him to, I would say a bigger Bucky Irvin. Literally. I mean, literally, when I watch his film, that's the closest to like one person I could pick as that he's the most like. But again, bigger than Bucky Irvin. Bucky Irvin is really small. This guy's bigger than him and even more explosive and has even better change of direction skills. So that's scary. Now, moving on before we get up out of here, I do want to point out the fact that our final draft class includes first round Josh Connolly, second round Tre'Navian Amos, my fault, fourth round Jalen Lane, sixth round Kane Medrano, and 7th round Jacory, Croskey-Merritt. I really like that draft class, and again, like I mentioned earlier, you also, when you're looking at our draft class, you got to think of it as Marshawn Lattimore, Deebo Samuel, and at least half of Laremy Tunsil, just based off of we spent half of these draft picks in this class, and then another couple of draft picks in the next draft to get them. So you have to basically look at it as Josh Connolly, Trey Amos, Laremy Tunsil, Marshawn Lattimore, Jalen Lane, Deebo Samuel, Kane Medrano, and Jacory Croskey-Merritt. That's technically a draft class in my personal opinion. And then also, before we go, shouts out to Bleeding Burgundy and Gold for pointing it out. While I was working on this video, I was kind of listening, but I didn't really pay much attention. But he pointed out and tweeted, NFL Network glazing us is crazy. They were glazing us heavy. And I didn't really peep it until like I kind of was like listening. I was like, wait, they are talking about us. They're talking about us like they used to talk about the Chiefs like a year or two ago. Like, and then even separately from ESPN, when asked to reflect on the NFL draft, Mel Kiper loved what the Commanders did. So you had NFL Network glazing us and then ESPN as well. Mel Kiper said, quote, when you talk about a team to watch, when you have Jaden Daniels at quarterback, the Washington Commanders will be a fear factor team. Unquote. And I like that, man, because if at the end of the day, at the very least, if we strike fear in every team that we're about to go against, you've already won half the battle. Remember the Patriots, a lot of games, you know, players even admit it, from the Patriots, from other teams that played against them, a lot of the times the game was even won before the game even started, because just out of pure fear of having to go against a team that's that, you know, they trust themselves. The chemistry is elite. The mentality is A1. They're physical. They trust their abilities. They know when in doubt, even if they're in a bad situation, they trust themselves to get out of it. You know what I'm saying? So, and it sounds like from what Mel Kiper's saying, teams are going to be afraid to play us. And again, a lot of the times when it comes to that, that's half the battle. You already win the game before the game even starts, before the coin is even flipped, before the game started. And Jacory Croskey-Merritt will be a big part of that. After a few teams see him early on in the season, like weeks 1 through 6, doing what he does, by the time we get to like week 10, teams are going to be like, oh my God, man. Jaden Daniels, Terry, Deebo, top 5 O-line, Jalen Lane taking the lid off of the defense, Cliff Kingsbury is the offensive coordinator, and now we got to worry about Jacory? So I'm telling y'all right now, see the vision. Follow me. Walk with me. Hear me now, believe me later. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please stick on that like button, stick on the subscription button, stick on the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Really appreciate y'all for, I mean, if you made it this far in the video, you are a GOAT, especially since I've already talked about 4 other draft picks. For you to come to this 5th one and stay all the way throughout the video, if you're hearing me talk right now, I salute you and thank you personally. Really appreciate y'all. Shouts out to all of y'all that made the live streams throughout the draft process so fun and live, man. All of the donations especially. Shouts out to y'all that donated during the live streams, to the Cash App, to the Super Chat, and shouts out to y'all that have been donating in the comment sections of my videos, that have been donating to the Cash App even when I haven't been live streaming. Y'all are the GOATs. Shouts out to everybody that left a like. Shouts out to everybody that pulled up and supported every stream, all of these videos. Y'all are the GOATs, man. This was a beautiful draft process, and it's not over, because now we got to evaluate these guys. We got to, as we get further into the offseason, we'll get a better idea of exactly how these guys fit, how much they'll play early. Of course, I'm working on film sessions immediately, so be on the lookout as things start to die down, because the draft just ended. You know, hopefully we go and get like Zadarius Smith at edge or Justin Simmons at safety or something like that. But for the most part, from now until we start doing offseason workouts, it's not going to be like a lot of news going on. And then after those, you know, few offseason workouts that we start to do around, what is that, like, that's like May or something like that, we start to really get into it, I guess. But then after that, once we get into June, it's gonna be another dead period, and I got y'all covered for all of that, man. I mean, I'm you know me, I'm gonna work on like my depth chart predictions and things like that. We're gonna have several of those updated throughout the off season, where I'm predicting like who's at the top of the depth chart, who's gonna make the team, who's gonna get the most carries at running back, who's gonna get the most targets at receiver. And y'all know when I do those, I like show you on screen, okay, you have these starters, I have their pictures with their names, you have these backups, all of that type of stuff. So make sure you stay tuned. I have so much content planned for y'all. I'm so excited. But most importantly, go become a channel member so you can get these film sessions while I'm throwing them out there. Really appreciate y'all. Make sure you leave a like on the way out, and of course, course, let me know how you feel about Jacory, man. Am I too hype on him? Let me know what your comp would be for him. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my points. Do you feel like this is a potential game changer for the Commanders? Do you agree that he has no business making it to the 7th round? Let me know how y'all feel about everything discussed in the video. I really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.